Hello and welcome to the Blockade Runner podcast. My name is John, and with me, as always, this morning from Denver, Colorado, is Ryan. What's up, Ryan?
Good morning. Hi.
Yeah, I was just trying out my announcer voice thing there, so
Yeah,
thought I'd give you some more hailing from Denver, Colorado.
I know. I got like a Bobby Lashley
Ooh,
intro there.
well, I'd rather be Leo Rush, but either way, it's cool.
Well, he hails from Denver, Colorado.
Oh yeah. Whoops. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
You're okay. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you know what?
Or you could have given me a Lars Sullivan intro and say from the Rocky Mountains.
Oh, is that? See, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Wow, look at you.
He's stationed up in Estes Park, I guess.
Oh, wow. A cradle of wrestling where you live. That's cool. All
Big
right.
time, an inside cradle. for a quick 3 count, Daniel Bryan versus The Miz style.
All right. I feel like anybody viewing or listening is going to give this show a quick 3 count if we don't get into talking about Star Wars, which is what we're here to do. This is episode number 77 of the Blockade Runner podcast, and we are going to talk about The Mandalorian, which was just announced. He hails from Mandalore, maybe, or the Outer Rim. He lives in the Outer Rim. Well, he is working in the Outer Rim, but we're going to talk about that. So anyways, The Mandalorian. And we're also going to talk about a bunch of exciting stuff coming out of New York Comic Con, which is happening this weekend. The last day is happening today. Actually, we're recording Sunday, but there's already been a bunch of news coming out of there that we want to get into. So there's some news from Hasbro about Star Wars Resistance toys, and also some new vintage figures, vintage collection figures. There's a ton of cool news coming out of the Lucasfilm publishing panel, and I guess those are pretty much the two categories of news coming out of Comic-Con, but it's a bunch of stuff. So that's the plan. But let's start out by talking about The Mandalorian, which, I guess we've known about Favreau's show, and we've more or less known for a while now that it was going to feature Mandalorians in some level. But I'm actually very pleased with what we got. So what was it? Thursday night that Jon Favreau, I think he kind of jumped the gun, or maybe that was the plan. I don't know, but
just threw up that post on Insta.
Yeah, he posted this Instagram post, which was like a bootleg Star Wars crawl type text thing.
It was definitely yellow text.
I know, but it was weird. Like, I was like, this is like, it's not a great font even, really. And, there's no star. I don't think there's a star field back there, or maybe there was, but
it was just yellow.
It was just like, that's another thing that makes me think it was rogue, like he jumped the gun a little bit, because it's like, if the Lucasfilm marketing department had anything to do with this, I feel like it would look a little fresher than it did. But that's, it doesn't matter. What matters is the information that he put there. I actually don't have that pulled up, his post, but I do have the post from StarWars.com that was put up the following day, and I think the text is pretty similar. So let's just go ahead and read that real quick. The post from StarWars.com says, production on the first Star Wars live-action streaming series has begun. After the stories of Jango and Boba Fett, another warrior emerges in the Star Wars universe. The Mandalorian is set after the fall of the Empire and before the emergence of the First Order. We follow the travails of a lone gunfighter in the outer reaches of the galaxy, far from the authority of the New Republic. The series will be written and executive produced by Emmy-nominated producer and actor Jon Favreau, as previously announced, with Dave Filoni directing the first episode. Additional episodic directors include Deborah Chow, Rick Famuyiwa, I think, Bryce Dallas Howard, and Taika Waititi. Is that correct? Is that correct pronunciation?
I believe so. Taika Waititi. Yeah.
All right. Nice. Okay. And it's executive produced by Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, Kathleen Kennedy, Colin Wilson, and Karen Gilchrist will serve as co-executive producer. So that's the news that was released by StarWars.com, and I guess ahead of time by Jon Favreau on Instagram. Yeah. So tell me what you think, Ryan. What are your thoughts about The Mandalorian?
Well, a few things. First off, you did refer to The Mandalorian as a he, but we don't know that.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is kind of exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like my 2 favorite Mandalorians in existence are both female, that being Sabine and Sabine's mom. I think are the best Mandalorians in Star Wars, and they are both female. So I think there is like a history of great female Mandalorians, and it would be potentially really cool if this Mandalorian was female.
Yeah. I would definitely be here for that. I would be really into that idea. That would be great. I think that I want the nature of the character to be hidden for the majority of, if not the majority of the show, at least the majority of the first season. I think it'll be like a man with no name type thing, and it's just this masked, character, and you don't know who that person is. And but if it was a woman, I think that'd be great. Sure, cool.
Yeah, I mean, they could but at the same time, like they did just kind of pull this with Emphas Nest. Because I mean, I definitely rolled into Solo thinking Emphas Nest was a dude,
right?
And because that's how we're conditioned to think about these things, like, oh, it's a tough, cool person in like armor and they're a total badass, like, oh, it's got to be a dude. But we've known since going back to the original Metroid on the NES that you can't always assume that.
Man, you beat me to the punch. I was gonna be like, do we want it to be a Samus thing where
yes,
the entire I mean, but it's in 1987 or whatever it was like, oh my god, it turned out to be a girl. Like, that's crazy. But I feel like, if the Mandalorian is a woman, cool. If the Mandalorian is a woman, but you spend the whole first season thinking she's a man, and then in the end it's like, hey, it's a woman, like that might be a little gimmicky. I almost feel like I would definitely like it to be. I mean, I'm not saying I have a preference for it to be a woman. I don't necessarily want it to be a woman instead of a man, but I would be into it for sure if it was a woman. But I think if it is a woman, then maybe don't hide the reveal all season long, because it would end up feeling maybe gimmicky.
Yeah, for sure. Like it. And again, like they kind of already pulled that with Emphas Nest, which ended up being like super satisfying and awesome. But I think now it's like that speculation is already there, and just be upfront about it. But I mean, either way, like it's fine. But I just thought it was interesting that they, didn't explicitly call it out as male or female.
I think another interesting
could be an alien.
Yeah.
Too.
Sure. It could be Thrawn. I don't know.
Mara Jade.
It might be Snoke. I have no idea. But I think something that could be really cool with a show like this, and we're jumping the gun in a very major way because we know nothing about it and have seen zero footage, let alone any episodes. But just with that title, The Mandalorian, I don't know. Are they going to do 6 seasons about The Mandalorian, or is it like a one season show? And I guess there would be probably some subtitle or something, or some sort of container title going along with it if this is the case. But I'd be into like an Outer Rim outlaw, like anthology type show, like, American, or God, what's that great show with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey that the first season was so good? True Detective. True Detective type thing, where it's like, well, the first season is about the Mandalorian, but the second season is about some other, like, Outer Rim outlaw character, and you follow that character for a season, and something like that would be cool. But there's no reason to believe it's that. I was just thinking, like, just the concept of a season following this character, and then it's like only in episode 8, like the final episode, you find out really who it was and all that kind of stuff. Like, where do you go from there? You know what I mean? I guess you could do a season 2 where you're exploring the character in a more personal way or something, but it almost seems like a one and done type structure if that's what they go with.
I mean, who knows? Like, I have no idea what the scope of this show is and like what the bigger story is.
Yeah, I was going to qualify that by saying we really have no idea what. I mean, we have no reason. I have no reason to think it's oh my god, like the last episode of the first season, they're going to reveal who it is. Like, I'm just making that up out of thin air, basically. Yeah. So I'm talking about it as if that's what it's going to be, and we have no idea. So but the other thing, like, you mentioned Sabine. You said Sabine, and who else are your 2 favorite Mandos?
Her mom.
Oh, her mom. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that is, I love Sabine too. And her mom is also, cool, but I don't feel as attached to her mom necessarily, but Sabine's great. But it's funny because, I don't want to be such a purist or anything, but to me, the description of this show, The Mandalorian, following this lone, like there was Boba Fett, there was Jango Fett, now there's The Mandalorian. To me, it's like really seems like it's going back to a lone individual, kind of like silent but deadly bounty hunter, like what a Mandalorian was before, 2002, when, they started to change that story with Boba Fett and Attack of the Clones. It was, to me, that like there's almost like two different definitions of what is a Mandalorian, and I'm not saying I don't like what they've done with Mandalorians since 2002, and I really do like Sabine and some of those Mando characters, but this, to me, it doesn't feel like this is intending to tell that kind of Mandalorian story, or even to feature that kind of Mandalorian character. Like, I feel like this is almost like to me, it just seems like the description is like we're rebooting what a Mandalorian is. We're going to, not to erase the other stuff, but this show is going to focus on like that original vision for a Mandalorian. And if that's the case, I feel like this character will have very little in common with a character like Sabine, because she's not really like Boba Fett at all. I mean, she wears the same armor, you know. Boba Fett's not even from Mandalore. You know what I mean? So it's like they have very little in common. And I feel like this character will have a lot in common with Boba Fett from the late 70s and early 80s, and the Boba Fett we built up in our head from then all the way to until 2002. I don't think it'll have that much in common with, pre-Vizsla and Sabine and dark sabers and like that kind of stuff. But again, I kind of prefer that original version of Boba Fett, so maybe that's my bias creeping into it. But the way I read that description, it just doesn't sound like it's going to have anything to do with the political and the houses and clans.
And I'm totally okay with that. Like, I think Rebels went a little too much into that, where I was like, oh, this is cool, like a little bit of background on Sabine, and like, oh, okay, so this is how like things happen on Mandalore and stuff. And then it was like it got to be a bit much. After a certain point.
Yeah, I agree. But I know there are a lot of people that really love that stuff, and it was interesting to see the reactions to this announcement, like on Twitter and online and stuff from people who love those things, because like, oh my god, the Mandalorians! I love Mando culture. I love all that stuff, and I didn't want to be like a wet blanket or anything, but my thought was like, I don't see where you're getting that from this. I mean, like the title is The Mandalorian, but otherwise it doesn't really seem like it's going to have anything to do with that.
I think there's a bigger story here, and I don't think it's like about the ruling houses of Mandalore.
No, it's about the transition probably between the Empire to the First Order, or just what the galaxy was like in that period between those eras, I think, right?
Yeah.
And it's about the Outer Rim, and it's about like the first image. It really gives it that like sort of dusty Tatooine, Outer Rim outlaw
like
kind of
Western
feel. Yes, vibe. Yeah, and we got a little bit of that in Solo. They talked about that up in Solo, but I felt like the final product, like it almost like it was really stylized isn't the right word, but it kind of took like the sort of basic elements of Westerns, but it didn't too often feel married to the visual elements of it. I didn't.
No, there were like two shots that like looked like a Western. And then
it was more like that sort of storytelling in some places, I think, than it was, visually really kind of going that route. But I think Outer Rim, Tatooine, this first screenshot, which we haven't talked about the screenshot because there was a screenshot posted alongside it, or like a press image. It's not even, probably not a screenshot, but it's got that vibe 100%. And so I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, just a slight interruption. But this is ridiculous that we're recording right now, because the first 3 episodes of Star Wars Resistance can be watched now via the Disney Now app.
I knew it was going to happen. When they said the 10 p.m. premiere time, I knew it was just going to go on the app earlier. Oh, it is ridiculous, because I just want to hit stop and go watch those now. But we're not going to do that, right? We're going to keep pushing through here. We're going to record.
I mean,
I think we should record.
Okay.
Let's finish this. Let's finish this.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So back to the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
The other exciting part about this, I think, is the director talent that they're pulling in here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, having someone from who's directed episodes of Jessica Jones is interesting, because that show definitely has a tone and a vibe to it. Again, like kind of like gritty street level, and it would be interesting to see how like that translates to Star Wars. But then also Taika Waititi, who is like the person that I have wanted to do something in Star Wars the most. And I'm really, really excited about that. I love, Flight of the Conchords. I love What We Do in the Shadows, and like Thor Ragnarok is like one of, if not my favorite Marvel movies. So I'm really, really excited to see like what he brings to this show. And it's cool that we're getting directors with a lot of different experiences and a lot of different styles.
Yeah. And I'm not super familiar with his work. Like I haven't even seen Thor Ragnarok yet, which is not good because you gave me a code to watch it and I haven't watched it yet. But I do own it in my digital collection. I could watch it, but I need to do that. What We Do in the Shadows is him too, right? And I think I'm going to watch that this season. So, but everything he does seems to, again, I'm unfamiliar, but it seems to have this like strong comedic flair to it, right? And I'm just curious, like if that will be, I guess Favreau does too, to a certain extent. But but this image and the description of the show, it just doesn't sound like that'll be a part of this, No,
it's a lot of like dark humor, and absurdist humor, but like also just like really good characters, which I think can work with Star Wars. Like, Star Wars does have like levels of like dark humor to it.
Okay. Yeah, sure. And then the other element of this, which is interesting too, and I'm trying to like unravel this knot in my brain to see if this even makes sense. But Jango and Boba Fett, through casting of Attack of the Clones, Jango is of a Maori actor, and Taika Waititi then is of Maori descent, so I think there's a connection there too, depending, but I guess Jango's not really a Mandalorian. I think he's not. So, I don't know if the Mandalorian will be played by a character of that same, kind of ethnicity or what the deal is. Like, I'm not sure what they're doing with that whole element of it, but I know that there was a strong push and I think it made a lot of sense. Number one, if they were going to do, a Boba Fett movie, that Boba Fett should be played by, an actor of that ethnic background, and also there should be some creative talent involved of from that background too. Why not? So I think that's an interesting element of this too. So
for sure,
like a positive thing. Like, hey, we're that representation is there. So I think that's cool. And even going back to the announcement of Favreau doing the show, I know there was a lot of people who rightfully felt like it was another white male director or white male kind of creative, steering the ship. And it is that, but obviously there's a pretty diverse, crew of directors here, which is great. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And Dave Filoni is directing an episode, which is really interesting too, because for a long time, some of his biggest fans have been saying like, hey, we got to get Dave Filoni doing live action. And then there's like a whole nother contingent of people who say, well, why? He's, he's the animation guy and he does a great job with that. So why is there this feeling that, he has to be pushed up to live action, otherwise he's not fulfilling his talent or whatever. It's like, why can't somebody whose background in life's work and everything is in animation, like what's wrong with them continuing to excel in the area of animation? But he's doing some live action, so that's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see where that goes, but I think this what we know about the show and in the description of the show and the premise for the show, to me, it's about the best possible outcome to a show about Mandalorians that, for me, that we could have gotten. Because when it was just rumored for a long time, like, yeah, Favreau's doing a show about Mandalorians, I was thinking it was going to be Pre Vizsla and Trey Vizsla and Quattro Vizsla and as if pre means two, which it doesn't. I don't know, but anyways, I just was worried it was going to be this whole like political intrigue, Game of Thrones. But I kept hearing Game of Thrones, but Mandalorians like tossed around and stuff. None of that sounded very good to me. So
no,
Boba Fett, reboot or reimagining sounds really good to me. If it's truly going to stick to what Boba Fett was, and it seems like that's the plan. So those are my final thoughts on the Mandalorian. Anything else you wanna add there, Ryan, or are we ready to move on?
No, I'm just curious to see and know more. But it's it's finally happening. Live action Star Wars show.
Yeah.
Like, it's one way or another, it is happening, and I think it's in like a really good place with the vibe that we're getting and the talent coming on board. Yeah,
for sure. And next year is going to be just insane. I feel like, especially April at Celebration, we're going to be seeing and hearing a lot about a lot of different things, I feel like. So, and the Mandalorian surely will be one of those. So, but there's so much to reveal and talk about next year between, this show and Episode 9 and the Disney park. It's going to be, I feel like, nonstop all year long, and it's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into some New York Comic Con news. First up is the Hasbro panel or the Hasbro announcements. I think there's a Hasbro panel today as well, so I'm not really sure what the story is there. But there was, I think it was not so much a panel earlier in the week, but they do like a press meeting. I'm not sure what happened actually, but I know that we've got some news here. So, and I think there's an actual panel if you're attending that's happening today. But in any case, let's talk about what we know so far from Hasbro coming out of New York Comic Con, and that is that they revealed a line of Resistance toys for spring of next year.
And we had this was kind of I mean, for one, it's obvious that they would do this. But two, like, I think you sent me a post from Yak Face like 2 weeks ago that was like, here's the list of Resistance figures, but we didn't have pictures or anything, correct?
Right. And it wasn't official. It was like leaked from, a retail computer system or something, I think.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So, but it was like, definitely, okay, we're about 95% sure we're getting some Resistance toys soon, but yeah, it's nice to have it official and see the photos and stuff. So, yeah, the first wave of toys here includes Kazuda Ziono, Toradoza, Sinara-san, who I'm not sure that we had heard about that character yet. Could be wrong, but I'm not sure that we had. A First Order Stormtrooper, Major Von Reg, and that is that Crimson TIE pilot that we were hypothesizing could have been Cardinal from the Phasma novel, but it's Major Von Reg. Yeah. Commander Pyre, which is a black and gold Stormtrooper.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, I don't know. Well, we know Phasma's in the show too, because Gwendolyn Christie is lending her voice. So we're doing some color-coded Stormtroopers, but I think the show is targeted towards smaller kids, so that makes sense to a certain extent, right? Like, if you want to have bold colors and really separate characters in visual ways, I think makes sense. So I don't think we're going to start seeing like Technicolor Stormtroopers in like Episode 9 or anything, but in a kids cartoon, I feel like it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
mean it's interesting. Like the gold stormtrooper. Like I saw that and I was like, oh, is that like a variant figure or something? Like some short packed thing or
yeah,
like a mail away or something. It's like, no, that's a character. Which
I,
is it's kind of like it's kind of weird because when you think about like Phasma's silver armor and stuff, it's not just like, oh, she's from the silver division of the like first order or whatever. It's like if you like in the novel, she like salvaged all the pieces to make that armor herself and all this, and it's like, what is going to be the story of the gold stormtrooper?
yeah, that's true. That's true. Although, what came first, the story about her salvaging the armor or the idea of like, let's just make a cool looking stormtrooper. You know what
Oh
I
well,
mean?
yeah,
So it's I think like the genesis is from the same place probably, but also just I'm thinking of this in like think in terms of like villains from a GI Joe cartoon from the 80s or something. You know what I mean? Like you're not like
yeah,
it's just about being memorable, and being
for
distinct
sure.
from one another. I feel like so. I don't know, because the alternative would be like a really goofy, not necessarily goofy, but the alternative would be to populate the First Order with a bunch of like different aliens or something. Like you've got to make these characters distinct from one another, but they probably should be in stormtrooper armor. You know what I mean? Like for kids, they like storyline wise, I feel like the First Order is not going to have a ton of Kylo Rens running around that have all these like distinct personalities and distinct looks. Like for
Yeah.
the most part, they're going to be officers or they're going to be stormtroopers in TIE pilots and stuff. So if that's the case, if they're going to be mainly covered in armor and you want them to be, you want my 4-year-old to know the difference between them, I feel like different color schemes and stuff is the way to do that. So I kind of feel it, to be honest. I kind of like it. But the other two are a Poe and BB-8 2-pack, and then a Jarek Yeager and a Bucket 2-pack. So, and the 2-packs are a pretty standard part of the 3 3/4 inch Hasbro toy line now.
Yeah.
Every wave pretty much has like 5 or 6, I guess 6 individual figures, and then they'll usually do a couple 2-packs as well. So this sounds pretty good. First wave, I think. I'm pretty excited. What do you think?
Yeah, they look great. I think this is again like we've talked about, like this show does have just a really appealing art style. And it's like these are super colorful and very like anime looking. And I sent you a text the other day that like seeing the figures made me more excited for the show.
Yeah.
Because like I'm a child. And that's like, you can still market to me like I am a small child and it will work.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean these look so good. They're so colorful. And I don't know, like the Hasbro face sculpts just continue to get better. Like, I mean, I think since Force Awakens, like we have seen such improvements in face sculpts with like all the new tech they're using. And like, this is obviously based off animation and not live action, but like it's crazy how good these like 5 POA figures are looking these days.
And not even the vintage highly articulated, but just the cheaper,
like the $8 figures like really look good.
Yeah, as you were saying that, I was just like looking at my Lando Calrissian here from Solo. Like that's I've got my handful of Solo toys here on the desk where I'm recording, and this figure is amazing. It looks so good, to be this small and to have that much distinct, distinct feature, facial features, and to really kind of capture the likeness as well as they did on a mass-produced, teeny tiny, $8 figure like that. I think it's great. But I also think too, like I don't have a lot of the Clone Wars toys, but I've got like an Ahsoka from 2008 or whenever it was. and that looks great too. And I think that even then, and still now with some of the Rebels toys that they put out, over the last 4 or 5 years, they're really good at and maybe it's easier to do than with the more realistic. It probably is, but they're really good at capturing the look and the feel of these animated shows, and they just really come across. I think they really capture the likeness, the animated likeness too, really, really well, and so it's kind of perfect.
Yeah. The Sabine 5 POA from, I think it was like in like the Rogue One line, maybe. It was like really weird. It like didn't fit with the other characters at all, but like I love that figure. Like that's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Another interesting thing here I put in the notes, and this is from Forlam to Zuckus, who posted on Twitter about this. But apparently, the Torah figure comes with a second head, and I'm looking at least that's how I think it's Jake from Forlam to Zuckus phrased it, because I'm looking at these photos and all of these other figures. Well, not all of them, but a couple of them, like Jaeger and Poe. And what did I say? Her name was Sinara. They have helmets. Even Kaz has a helmet.
Yeah.
And they all seem to be separate, sort of helmets, and they show them with the helmet on and the helmet off. But then with Torah, it looks to be that they just have a separate head.
I saw a picture, a photo from someone at NYCC, and it's like there's the figure of her with like that just awesome face sculpt and awesome hair, and then there was like another head sitting next to her with like the eyes and everything in the helmet,
right?
So swappable heads.
Yeah, that's not something I can't remember the last time there was a 3 3/4 with swappable heads.
No, but I looked at that and I was like, cool, I'm gonna buy 2 of this figure.
Yeah.
Like, because it's such an awesome figure. Like, I love her like Robotech looking suit, and totally down.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks really great. It looks really great. And I think I'm just like looking at the shape of her head and the shape of her hair style, and it's like, well, how would you get a helmet to fit on there and look, nice and snug like it should? So
totally, because she's got those like, what are what do you even call that?
Space buns?
Buns, but they're not like,
not the Leia, exactly.
Leia's cinnamon roll.
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Well, I'm really stoked for these Resistance toys to come out next spring. So I think that'll be really cool. No announcements about vehicles or anything yet, which I shouldn't talk because I've yet to buy any vehicles from like the Solo line or the Last Jedi line, really. So, but then I'm like, where's that? I want, like, this is a ship about a racing crew, like, or not a ship. This is I'm sure there will be some shipping, but no, this is a show about a racing crew, and I want to see some more about ships and stuff. And I'm sure that'll be coming in, down the pipeline at some point. But then again, we never got it. We never got a Ghost in 3 3/4 form.
No,
and that's like, we never even got a Phantom, let alone a Ghost. So, or did we? No, I don't think we ever did get a Phantom. I'm trying to think. My Elliot has a Phantom and a Ghost, but I'm trying to think if either one of them are. I think they're both from the Galactic Heroes High School line, which I also love. But
we got Ezra's speeder.
Yeah.
But
I forget that's like, I think is that a Class B? I think that's a Class B vehicle, but I don't believe they've done any class, or maybe that might even Class C. I don't know. They have 3 different price points for vehicles.
Yeah, it was one of the $20 ones.
I think that's Class B, but they didn't do any Class A. So
yeah,
but so Resistance toys are looking really good. I'm glad it's got you more excited for the show, Ryan. We could be watching it right now, but instead we're talking about Star Wars stuff.
Actually, I don't know if I could be watching it. I don't think I have that Disney app. I've never used that. Like, how does that even work?
Yeah, you just download it, like anything else. But once you download it, then you log in
using your cable,
or I don't know, do you just have cable or DirecTV, or what do you use?
We just have Xfinity.
Yeah, you just log in with Xfinity. So and assuming you have What do you use? You use a Apple. You don't use an Apple TV, right? Xbox. What do you use?
No, we have a cable box, like a
And you can download
Comcast one.
apps on it.
No.
You have a smart
We
TV?
we have a Roku.
A
TV.
Roku.
Yeah.
So I assume that you can download the app from the Roku store or whatever.
Okay.
But,
Huh.
yeah. Huh. So anyway, yep.
Yeah.
Or you can get it on your Surface, I'm sure, Ryan, and watch it there. But one way or another.
We also at kind of like the bottom of this post on StarWars.com about the Resistance figures, we got some new vintage collection figures as well, and they're like some pretty cool deep cuts. Specifically the Return of the Jedi figures. A fuzzy 3 3/4 inch Gamorrean guard. Which,
it's fuzzy?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, if you look at the picture on StarWars.com, like it's
Well, so here's the thing with the Gamorrean guard. Apparently, that's a reissue of a Black Series or a from a previous highly articulated line, which it doesn't matter to me because I don't have it, so it's new to me.
I don't either.
But yeah, so there must be people out there that already have this fuzzy Gamorrean guard, unless it's a reissue, but they've added the fuzz to it, which is a possibility too.
Because this is not the 6-inch one that's like available at Target now.
No, this is 3 3/4.
Yeah,
this is 3 3/4. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing with all this Return of the Jedi stuff, which is great, is this is for it's for anybody who wants to buy them, but this is for the people who've invested in the HasLab.
The
skiff.
Jabba's
the sail barge. The sail barge.
Yeah.
It's for the sail barge. I mean, it's again, anybody obviously is going to enjoy these figures because they look great.
I'm not buying the sail barge.
Well, I didn't buy the sail barge either. I wish that I did, but I don't have $500 to spend on a sail barge. So,
totally.
But imagine you did just spend $500 on a sail barge. You want some highly articulated, good-looking figures.
You're going to want a yak face.
You are going to want a yak face. Yeah, you're gonna get one. You're gonna get a yak face. Although it doesn't say yak face on the package, but it's a yak face nonetheless.
It's definitely a yak face. And I don't know if like these I feel like the Leia, like that feels like a figure I've seen before, but maybe it was just like the 5 POA version.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one, that looks super familiar. But are these all new figures?
Well, I'm just going by the write up on StarWars.com, and who posted this? Bria. Bria posted this on StarWars.com. And so thanks to her and to StarWars.com for the post. But I'm not seeing anything about that being a reissue. So she noted that the Gamorrean Guard is a reissue.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that Hasbro is supplying that information. So I don't know.
Because I definitely haven't seen a vintage collection Klaatu, which I didn't even know that was his name, her name. Yeah. I didn't know it was Klaatu. Skiffguard. Skiffguard. I definitely haven't seen that. And Yak Face, I know, like obviously it's a legendary figure in the original Kenner line. But did we even get a 5 POA of a Yak Face? I certainly don't have one. No, I'm sure there was probably one at some point, but
Power of the Force, there's probably I would think maybe Power of the Force
super buff Yak Face with like huge pecs.
This is where we need Jeff back on the show.
Totally.
He could tell us. He has it. If there is one, he's got it.
So. Cool. Well, hopefully he can correct us and let us know.
Yak Face with super buff Yak Face with, what'd you say? Great pecs? Is that what you said?
Yeah, huge pecs.
Huge pecs, yeah. Because they don't, okay. Yep, that'd be cool.
Anyways, I'm going to buy all of these figures. I'm buying all of them. I'm not as excited about the Rogue One.
The Scarif Trooper?
Yeah, I feel like I have some Scarif Troopers around here.
Yeah,
I'm not super into Troopers in general.
Ooh. I'm kind of into the Troopers, but
like, I mean, I buy like one of a design, but then like if there's like minor paint differences and stuff, like I don't buy troopers again.
Well, in theory, I'm into troop building. I've never actually done it, but in theory, I'm into it. Like if I had a Rogue One shelf, if I had a shelf where I was displaying all my Rogue One figures specifically, because I know you don't, you've got your glass case back there and you've got your figures, and it looks fantastic. But you're not really grouping them by movie or anything, right? You're just
no, because there'd be like huge discrepancies. Like there'd be like the Rebels shelf would have like 3 figures on it.
Yeah. No problem. But I'm just saying, like, you know, if I like the idea, like if you're doing a shelf, like a themed shelf or a themed, you know, display or whatever, like you don't want, you know, if you're doing your Scarif display, you don't want one Scarif trooper. You want at least a couple Scarif troopers there, you know.
That's true.
But also, I don't have the and I, you know, I'm in love with the 5 POA sculpts lately, you know, like we've been talking about, but I don't know, a highly articulated, really great looking Scarif trooper is not something I have. And I'm assuming this is a reissue too, right? Like there must have been one of these in the Black Series line from Walmart, the 3 3/4 Black Series line. So I'm assuming this is a reissue of that. But I guess I haven't done my homework appropriately to know 100%, but I think that's the case. So for a lot of people, you know, they probably got this, but I don't. So I might be willing to grab one of these next year when they launch. So and then the whole thing with the vintage collection, I believe, is that, you know, it's definitely a significant amount of them, at least early on here, are reissues from the Black Series line and from highly articulated sculpts that were already out there. So
yeah, and I hope that the distribution and stocking gets a little better, because like my local Target and Walmart have had the same Solo Wave 1 figures like up until yesterday when I was at Target. It's still just the same stuff, and the I don't think the next wave of vintage collection have shipped out. Like it's still just the wave with like Snoke and the Rey and First Order Stormtrooper.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I agree with you. It's really interesting too. The most recent episode of Toy Run. Yeah, Toy Run. Sorry, I lost it there for a second. It's like one of my favorite shows, but Toy Run, which is hosted by the guys from Forlam to Zuckus and Jedi Business, which is, you know, my favorite Star Wars toy podcast. If you're looking for one of those, they're really great. And they did on the recent episode, they were talking about distribution, and they had an interesting perspective on it, which they kind of said essentially, I think we need to look at Target and Walmart and those places, and the issue is most likely with them not ordering, and you know that's based on what they think is going to sell and not going to sell, and that sort of thing. So more so than Hasbro just can't get it together and get the toys to them. I think it's probably more of a, we're not ordering them because we still have these other ones on the shelf, or you know, that sort of thing. But
totally, because like you go to like entertainmentearth.com and they have like the next 3 waves that you can just like order from them. Like they're just like maybe
I need to do more of that. But for me, it's just like I just want to go. I just want to be out getting other stuff and be like, oh, here's one of these Solo figures I don't have yet. I'm just going to throw it in the cart with the other stuff I'm getting. I don't really want to place like a $40 order to Entertainment Earth so much as I just want to grab them here and there, you know.
Totally.
So, but yeah, some of those like a Beckett and a Rio and, you know, Val, like I want those characters really badly from Solo, and I don't have them. So but overall, I'm very excited about the toys from Hasbro here going forward. There's a lot of great stuff coming, so hopefully we'll be able to find it. And you know, I was a little worried there for a while. You know, it might be kind of dead until the episode 9 toy line picks up, you know, next fall, and I don't think that's going to be the case at all. So.
Yeah. I mean, between this and I mean, there's still like I think is it the wave 2 of vintage collection that has Dr. Aphra?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So like my wallet is very ready for when I see that at Target. So just throwing it out there, Target and Hasbro, like
And I've seen the Enfys Nest Black Series figure with Speeder at Target a few times, and man, I really want to grab that. But
wait, you already
the
the
Black
6
Series,
inch.
the 6-inch Black
Yeah.
Series. Yeah, no,
Oh,
I've got
God.
her.
Okay.
I've got her 3 3/4, which is
Yeah.
great too. Which is, look at her, she's great.
So good.
Yeah.
There's
But,
also her vintage collection figure is in the Wave 2, right?
oh yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think
like
so. Yeah.
I will definitely buy another Enfys Nest, like a
Well,
super articulated
and
Enfys Nest.
there's a Han Solo in that wave too, right? And
Yeah.
I surely still don't have a Han Solo figure from the Solo line at 3 3/4. So
Yeah.
so I need to get that.
I actually saw the Han Solo Chewbacca 2-pack, the Mimban one. I saw it, but it was at my local Walmart, and I was going before school to pick up some stuff for work. So I was there at like 6 a.m, and it was, for some reason, like half of the toy aisle at my Walmart is like in a glass case. And so you have to get an
find somebody to get it out
to unlock it. And yeah, I saw it there last week. But it was like 6 a.m. I'm like rushing to get some fruit roll-ups for a class party. And then like I just like obviously swoop through the toy aisle because to look for.
Was that a swoop bike reference? Is that what that was? Was that you trying to do a little pun with the swoop bike there?
Maybe.
Because you're not talking about Enfys though. You're talking about yeah. Well, I haven't seen one of those yet, and I don't know if I'll ever get a Mimban Trooper either, but that'd be great.
For sure. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's move on to talking about the publishing announcements. And I guess, looking at the list of stuff from Lucasfilm Publishing here, a lot of it is actually just some discussion of things we already knew about, more so than it is, kind of announcements. But there are definitely a few announcements as well. So I think it looks like, because we weren't able to see or hear the panel, just using the write-up on StarWars.com about what was covered there. But it sounds like there was, they started out, or early on, they discussed the Flight of the Falcon series. And I have not really been super aware of that or been able to keep up with that so much.
Yeah.
I know there was 2 books, I think Lando's Luck and the Luke and Leia Choose Your Own Adventure books that came out this week, actually. And those are sitting in my cart on Amazon right now. So I got to make that order. Yeah, I had to figure out, I got some Halloween costume things I need to get in there and order it all at once. So, yeah. And I'm way behind on books I'm already reading anyways, but I need to get those. I don't want to forget about them and have those slip, past me.
Did you?
Those are both I'm interested in.
Sorry, like slight digression, but did you read the Solo novelization?
No, I haven't.
No, me neither.
No, I'm way behind. I got to get going here. I need to read that. I need to read both Thrawn books. I need to read both Battlefront books. But honestly, I'm like more excited for like Lando's Luck and this Choose Your Own Adventure book. I think those are going to be really fun. Those are part of that Flight of the Falcon series. And then also it looks like Star Wars Adventures number 15 through 18 are going to be part of that Flight of the Falcon series as well. So that's all pretty fun. And then I think some stuff may be coming out next year too. But yeah, that's like Flight of the Falcon is basically, I think, young adult and children's publishing related to Solo and the Falcon. And so,
yeah,
I'm pretty into it.
Some good Lando.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am just doing my best to like stay caught up on the comics at this point, because there is a lot happening on the comics front, and it's a lot.
I feel like if I could ever get caught up, like, and maybe I just need to do that, like make my goal to be caught up by next March with all the novels. If I could ever get caught up, then I feel like I'd be able to keep up with them as they come out. And I'm close, I'm sort of close. I'm like 5 books away, but which is a lot of books, but I'm relatively close. But the thing is, like, you know, the Thrawn book came out. I didn't order it right away because I was like, well, I still need to read these other books or whatever. But I feel like if I had been caught up when the Thrawn book came out, I would have gotten it day one. I would have read it within a couple weeks. And then when the solo novelization came out, if I'd been caught up on everything else, I would have gotten it day one and I would have read it in a couple weeks. But I've gotten, like I said, like a handful of books behind. And then it just makes me like, I don't have to read the solo book right now because I've got these other books I've got to read. And then the pile keeps like kind of building, you know? So, but I think from kind of now until sometime next spring, I don't know that there's any more adult, you know, novels coming out. So maybe I can use that time to dig in. But let's talk about this Age of Republic Rebellion and Resistance comic line. Mm-hmm. Were you able to like kind of, because you're the comic guy, were you able to glean any more? Do you kind of get what's going on with this thing any more than we did before, or no? Because I don't.
Yeah, no, it's just from like the way I understand it, it is just a series of character-based one-shots.
Okay, so they are one-shots. Okay,
I believe so. Okay. And it's going to be there's going to be some sort of connective tissue in here, I believe. But I mean, it's great, great talent on these books, like Jody Houser, Greg Pak, Tom Taylor, just like, you know, just great, great comics writers who, mm-hmm. You know, I read their stuff on the reg already. I'm especially excited to get into like Tom Taylor. His like him writing a Star Wars story is really exciting to me. I've been a huge fan of his in recent years for his work on All New Wolverine and now X-Men Red, which is currently my favorite X-Men book on the stands. And so it will be really exciting to see what he does with Star Wars. He has a great sense of humor and character development that I'm really excited about. But yeah, it feels like it's going to be just these one shots about characters that connect to a larger story across the three saga eras.
Cool. So. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, that sounds great. I wasn't sure, you know, they announced the series, but I guess if you're not at these panels to hear them talk about it specifically, it's a little tough to piece it together. Cause I didn't know, you know, how much I just saw these covers like Qui-Gon Jinn #1. It says #1 at the top and Darth Maul #1. So does that mean like it's an ongoing series? Is not, you know, I think it makes more sense that it's a one shot, and that they're all character focused, but they're from that same time period. And, you know, probably like you said, there's some kind of thread throughout all of them that kind of brings them together. So, and we're seeing some covers, and the covers are looking good. The Darth Maul comic, it looks like, is rated T+, and the other ones are rated T. So,
I didn't notice that.
Slicing and dicing happening in the Darth Maul book.
Oh, boy. Into that. Man, but, it's been so long since we got a Darth Maul comic. Wow, the wait has been horrible.
Well, you want to talk about like the wait? Like, what about Vader? You know, we could talk about the Vader news. Like, there's always something happening with Vader. Like,
always a Vader comic.
He had some kind of like 25 or 30 issue series initially that ended, and they just started up another one right away. And now the one that's currently running is ending, which is the one that's who's writing that one again? It's
Charles Soule.
Charles Soule, yeah. So that one's ending soon, but you know, before that even ends, we've got a mini series from Chuck Wendig, Shadow of Vader, coming out. So if there's any one character that's constantly getting some shine in the comics, it's definitely Vader.
Yeah, I mean, but what's like, when the initial Vader book was announced with, like, you know, the initial first wave of Marvel Comics post Disney buyout, I was like, God, who's like, I don't know if I want to read a Vader monthly comic. Like, what is even going to be the story here? Like, how is this even going to work? But it was, Kieran Gillen, and I was like, I love Kieran Gillen. I love his writing. Like, I'll give it a shot. And then it was like one of my favorite books in like one of my favorite Star Wars comic series ever. It introduced us to Dr. Aphra, one of my favorite characters in Star Wars ever. And then we got an Aphra solo book, which is like so fun and amazing. And then but then when they were like, all right, now here's another Vader series. And it's like, okay, well, it's Charles Soule. Like, he's a good writer. I like his stuff. But I actually didn't subscribe to the single issues of Soule's Vader series. And I was like, I'll just get it in trade. And then now I've been buying the trades, and it's so good. And I don't know how they keep having just these great ideas for Vader stories. But and then this book that Wendig is doing, this miniseries about how Vader has affected other characters' lives, where it's not I don't think it's like a, book from Vader's perspective. It's from these other characters' perspectives. Shadow of Vader. And that actually sounds really cool. And I'm super on board right away. But there's also an Age of Rebellion Vader one shot as well. So
no, it's not Vader.
It's a lot of Vader.
Yeah. But I'm really excited for Shadow of Vader, which is this Chuck Wendig miniseries that we mentioned. I haven't read I don't think you have either, the Vader annual that Chuck Wendig wrote, right?
No, I haven't read it.
Okay. So I haven't read that. But I know that people are really, really into that. And now he's doing this 5-issue miniseries. And so that was just a cool thing to hear, just because I know that everybody was so happy with the annual that he wrote. But then when I read in this blog post,
my goodness,
it's going to be about different characters in each issue. But the first one is a Friday the 13th homage with a Vader hunting down kids at a summer camp. I was like, I can't wait. I can't wait. And you seem to be, I don't know, you're cringing over there, but I'm so excited.
I think it's great.
Okay.
I'm so into it. I love the language where they're just straight up he's hunting down kids at a summer camp.
I know. I think, they didn't even put a galactic summer camp or a Naboo version of a summer camp. It's just he's at a summer camp. So
Crystal Lake,
dude, if there's log cabins and tire swings and stuff, I will die. I don't think so. I think that they're just being a little bit loose with the language. Yeah. I'm sure that it's going to be some Jedi Academy or something like that. I mean, well, it won't be that, but you know what I'm saying? So anyways, but I love the idea. And it's funny because you had said well, it's kind of what we got. It sounds a little bit like the Rogue One, the final, scene in Rogue One or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't love the final. I know this is blasphemy or whatever, but I don't love the final scene in Rogue One. I mean, it's cool. I don't dislike it, but I also feel like it's tonally kind of off from it just didn't quite feel, I don't know, it felt too fan servicey, I guess, is what it comes down to at the end for me. So I don't hate it, but I don't love it. But in a comic book, I feel like it's much more appropriate to do that sort of scene or that kind of storytelling in a comic book than it is in a Star Wars movie, because it's almost like that scene is just oh, here is fan wish fulfillment, the scene, you know what I mean? And that takes me out of a movie a little bit. But in a comic book, that's kind of the whole point almost, you know what I mean? Sometimes. So it's sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do this weird, horror movie Vader issue. So I'm into that.
There was a book back in the Dark Horse days. I believe it was just a one shot, it was an oversized one shot, and it was called Purge, and it was Vader post Order 66 hunting down Jedi, and I loved that book. This was Revenge of the Sith era. And I thought that book was fantastic, and it's cool because we're still getting some more of that. That's a lot of what a big arc in Charles Soule's Vader book is, exactly that. And it seems like maybe there'll be some of that in Shadow of Vader as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess we got like a little bit of it in Rebels as well. But yeah, I think that's really cool, and it just makes me happy. But what also really makes me happy about Shadow of Vader is this issue 2 cover. Oh my goodness.
At the table?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, what a cover. Like, that is just incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty great. For those who are just listening, it's an image of Vader at I think it's at the Cloud City.
Cloud City,
yeah, the Cloud City buffet or table or whatever you want to say, the dinner table there. But what's cool is that his mirror image is reflected in the glassy surface of the table, but the window behind him, in the actual or at the top of the image is just a blue, Cloud City, sky behind him. But then in the reflection on the table, it's fire and Mustafar and that sort of thing. So
yeah, and
that is pretty cool.
His skull.
Oh, I didn't even notice that until now.
Yeah,
look at
it's so good.
Shadow of Vader is going to be scurry.
Yeah,
man. I'm excited.
Yeah, so that's really cool. I mean, I also love this cover too. Darth Vader number 25. Of him just like straight up walking through the lava of, I'd assume, Mustafar, with like lightning everywhere. Like it looks like a metal cover.
Yeah.
Album cover.
If you've ever wanted your Star Wars comic book to be like a Megadeth, album cover, like now you've got it, which is not a bad thing. It's cool.
No,
it's cool. Yeah.
Like that's kind of what I want out of a Vader book, I think. Yeah. Okay, we are like jumping all over the place. I think this might be a good time before we get back to the new books to talk about Vader's Castle, Tales from Vader's Castle.
Okay. Yes.
Which we both picked up. That's a Vader book you can get this week.
That's true. And I think we just want to touch on it, Ryan, because I feel like Tales from Vader's Castle is a whole episode waiting to happen.
Yes.
Or at least a significant portion of an episode coming up here. So, but yeah, it's fantastic. It's so good. It's exactly what I hoped it would be. And I really love it. They're coming out every Wednesday this whole month. And you and I both went to the comic book store on Wednesday afternoon, had to get it right away.
Yeah.
So Ryan's holding it up there. I got to stop talking so that it'll actually show up on camera. Oh, you got to talk so it'll show up on camera. Hold it up and say words.
Yeah, it says a ghost story, and it has Hera and Kanan and Chopper on the cover. This wonderful, wonderful cover.
Remind me, are they actually on the Ghost also, or are they not on the Ghost? I feel like they weren't on the Ghost, but
yeah, it's like there's like it's like a campfire story, basically. Yeah.
So
it's
I think
from a different narrator.
Right. So I think we'll do an episode where we talk a lot about each of the issues and that sort of thing. But it's super campy, like you said, really fun.
Extremely.
Very much like it has and I'm not an expert in these things to the level that you probably are, Ryan, but it's got is it like Carl Banks, like, Disney kind of like the spooky Disney comic book, like I know that, they weren't all spooky, but every once in a while, like those or Uncle Scrooge comics or the Disney, it's like watching a Disney. And actually I was doing this last night on YouTube. Me and my kids were watching like old Disney cartoons from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, like the Halloween kind of comics or cartoons. I mean,
Skeleton Dance.
Yep. We watched that. Yep.
Nice. So good.
But the whole, like, it's spooky, but it's for kids kind of, colorful, cartoony. It's so good. It's just perfect.
It's kind of like there was that episode of Rebels where they were on like the derelict ship or space station or something that had like some spooky vibes to it.
Yeah. That was fun. I think that was it was Chopper. Was it Chopper and Zeb that were I think maybe there's another
Yeah,
character with Zeb, but definitely Zeb was part of that mix. Remember
yeah,
him creeping through hallways and stuff. It is, but it's got way more camp to it, which is which is
yeah.
what I think is great. And the framing device of these smugglers or whoever they are, I can't remember now, but that crash land on Mustafar. Oh
Hmm.
my God, it's perfect. It's so good. So
Yeah.
if you're listening, you've got to go. Just go to the comic book store, or jump on Comixology, or I checked on the Apple iBooks, or it's called Books Now, but the bookstore on iOS. It's there. You can buy them
Mhm.
there. So what is it? I think it's $3.99, right? Is the
Yeah.
cover price.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be $3.99 if you buy it online or if you buy it in the store. So whatever you prefer. But man, it's really fun. I think it's really, really fun to read a spooky Star Wars comic every week in October leading up to Halloween.
Yeah.
So can't recommend that enough.
Yeah, it's not scary.
Well,
I
okay,
mean,
spooky. It's spooky.
it's yeah, like it's spooky vibes, but like I wasn't really sure going into it like what level. Like I knew it wasn't going to be like a straight up like slasher or anything like that. But like I wasn't sure, like, because there's stuff like the artist of um the variant cover here, um cover A, um and I'm not even going to say his try to pronounce his name, Francesco. I can't do his last name, but he did a book a couple years ago called Afterlife with Archie,
Okay.
and it was like an Archie, like a spoopy Archie book. And I was like, oh, this will be fun. I like this artist. I'm gonna check it out. And it was like I was expecting like campy horror, but it was like legit like horror and like pretty grotesque. And I was like, wow, this is an Archie book. That's crazy. So like I really like going into this, I wasn't sure if it would be like kind of like that Rebels episode, or if they'd like have characters being picked off, like obviously not like violently killed or anything, but like if there would be like some like tension or anything in it. But there's not.
Yeah.
It is way closer to like what you were describing, like a Disney Halloween episode. Like it's um yeah, and that's totally fine. Like I'm cool with it, but like if you are expecting like actual tension or horror, it's not really here.
Yeah.
But it's still fun.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a kid's book. Star Wars Adventures is absolutely a kid's book, So if you want the slasher thing, or just the actual, probably, a little bit scary or intense thing, like that Chuck Wendig Vader book is probably where you want to go for that sort of thing. But
Mhm.
but yeah, this is just totally embracing um the experience of a Halloween for little kids. You know what I mean? It's spooky. It's not scary, but we like the imagery of the scary stuff, and it's just perfect to me. Because I love that, and Halloween's like my favorite holiday, and I like true horror and true scary things to a certain extent, but to me, it's just as much about, like, I love Halloween decorations, and I love the Halloween specials, and I love Halloween episodes of TV shows, and I just love, like, the feeling and the vibe and the spookiness more so than the actual true horror, I guess, is what I'm saying. So if you're looking for something as a way to embrace the holiday without, if maybe you're not a person who likes horror so much, like, to me, this is great, because it's the fun part of Halloween without and it's a child's version of it, so that's what I'm into. Not that I'm not into the other stuff too, but that's what I'm into about this. That's why I
Yeah.
like this. So I
Yeah.
think go into it looking for that, and it's going to be perfect.
Yep.
So, okay, let's talk about a couple other books here before we wrap up. Women of the Galaxy, we've known about that. It's coming out in a couple weeks, actually, at the end of this month. But
Got
we did see
some new art.
some really great new art, some shots from that. So I almost feel like they're giving too much away at this point. Like, I feel like I've seen quite a few images from the book, and it is primarily a visual book, right? So So, but I'm sure there'll be plenty more, obviously, and to see these in the larger format and high quality and all that will be great.
Oh yeah, and one of them that, I mean, all of this new art they showcased was amazing. I really love this Jin Urso by Elsa Charretier, who is an artist on a lot of the IDW Star Wars books. She does covers. She did, I believe she did some of the Forces of Destiny books, but she is like one of my favorite Star Wars artists these days.
Yeah,
and,
she's great.
This image is just, it's so good. Everything from like the colors to the movement, like, it's great.
It is fantastic. Yeah, that one is great. The Phasma one is really nice as well. And I think my favorite might be, the Jin Urso is great just because I love that artist's style so much.
Yeah.
But also the Enfys Nest by Annie Stoll is pretty incredible as well. So
yeah, and the Sienna Rhee, who
Sienna Rhee from Lost Stars.
Lost Stars, yeah. I was totally blanking on the name of the book, but yeah, that's awesome to actually get some like official art of her.
100%.
Great stuff.
Yep, very, very excited for
I've had that book pre-ordered for what feels like forever. I've had the cover image as the background on my phone forever. Nice. I am very ready for that book to drop.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Okay, so just a couple other things. Let's see. Oh, there's the Han Solo Imperial Cadet comic book miniseries that's meant to be an exploration of the morality of violence and also a cross between Full Metal Jacket and Stripes. So all of that combined, I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be, to be honest, but it sounds good. Sounds good, and the cover looks great too. They whoever the cover artist is there, I'm sure it's listed. I just have to find it here.
Like, yeah, DNA. I don't know. Like, there's like a stamp on it on the cover, like right under the officer's finger.
Okay.
I might be like a digital artist or something.
Okay.
But it is a great cover.
Well, it's a great cover, and I'm not sure that the Han on the cover there looks exactly like Alden Ehrenreich or whatever, but it definitely captures the personality of Han Solo. So that's what's really cool about it.
Yeah, and I'm very excited for this book. For one, because we got a taste of this in the Solo deleted scenes, which was something that I know like we wanted in the film. And personally, I think that scene should have been in the film, where he's like the tribunal or whatever is, demoting him to infantry. That's just a great scene.
And Alden's delivery and performance in that scene is out of control. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Him in that gear with the eye patch, like it's so awesome. And like it's a really like it's a cool, interesting scene visually. Like there's a lot happening there. Like what are those like weird podium computer things that they're using? Like I want to know more. But also I'm excited because I'm not familiar with the artists on the book. Kirk, I just see the last name Kirk. I can't think of any artists that I know the last name of Kirk, but Robbie Thompson is writing this, and both Lindsay and I are huge fans of Robbie Thompson's work on. He did a book called Silk, and it's about a a character very similar to Spider-Man, set in the Marvel universe, the Spider-Verse, whatever. And it's just a very again, he's one of those people that are just, I think, perfect for Star Wars, because he has like that blend of characterization and humor within like genre fiction. And those, I think, are the people who do some of the best Star Wars work. So yeah, that's exciting.
Cool. I'm not sure when that comes out. I'm assuming soon-ish, but I don't know if it's listed there, but that should be cool. Just a couple more things. There's an Anakin and Obi-Wan Choose Your Own Adventure book on the way. And I still haven't gotten to the Han and Chewie one. And then, like I said, there's that Luke and Leia one that came out this week. So I'm sure those are very fast reads, though. So that would be fun. And Anakin and Obi-Wan, I think that would be fun to follow in a Choose Your Own Adventure book for sure, especially if you're a fan of them, their interactions and stuff in the Clone Wars, where they were really able to be friends and all that kind of stuff. And we got to see more of that. I think a Choose Your Own Adventure book in that era would be really fun. I think specifically it's probably Attack of the Clones, or right around that era when Anakin's a little younger and stuff. And that would definitely would be fun, I think. So that's coming out. We saw the cover for Claudia Gray's Master and Apprentice, which would be hard to be more excited for that book than most of us are, I think. Just loving Claudia Gray and also loving Qui-Gon Jinn and a young Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, we love those characters and we love that author.
Seeing this cover was like, it's so weird because this feels like this could be a cover of a book that came out in like 1999 or 2000.
Yeah, it almost has a retro kind of feel to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's weird that like, the Phantom Menace is now like retro and stuff, but like no, it's cool. I'm very, very excited for young Obi-Wan and pre-dead Qui-Gon Jinn, living Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah. Well, next year's gonna be so interesting with it being the 20th anniversary of the Phantom Menace, and I think at least in the first half of the year, it seems like there's going to be a pretty solid emphasis on the prequels, and so I think with the prequels getting a little shine next year and the episodic, the saga being wrapped up next year as well, it's going to be quite a year for Star Wars to bring all those things together.
Yeah, because Queen Shadow is dropping as well.
Yep. Yeah. So, and then I guess the last thing here, and this is an announcement from this panel, I had not heard of this book before, is Alphabet Squadron, coming from Alexander Freed, and that'll be next summer, June of 2019. The title threw me off at first, that's for sure. I was like, what are you talking about? Alphabet Squadron? But I guess it follows pilots that each fly a different class of starfighter. So you've got an A-wing and a Y-wing and an X-wing and a B-wing. And looks like they even have the U-wing on the cover there. So so that's cool. I know Alexander Freed wrote one of the first Battlefront book, right? So is more of a military, maybe is more into the military in battle side of military battle side of Star Wars. So sounds like a good fit. I have not yet read that book. I don't know if you did, Ryan. Did you read that book?
No, I did not. I have it. I haven't read it, but he also wrote for the Old Republic over at BioWare. And I believe he may have worked on the Mass Effect series as well over at BioWare. But I know he wrote, he had a story in From a Certain Point of View, and he, I believe, wrote one or more of the Old Republic books as well.
Okay.
So
canon reset.
Yes, I think like the books that kind of tied in with the MMO.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
But yeah, like no, you're totally right though. Like I would assume from like that Battlefront book seems to be.
Oh yeah, and he also wrote the novelization of Rogue One.
Oh, I
Yeah.
read that.
Okay, was it cool?
That was good.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I liked
There we
it.
go. There we go.
Looks like he wrote some Dragon Age books, so lots of stuff over at BioWare.
Okay.
Yeah, I think no. Yeah. Cool. That should be fun.
All right. Yeah.
I do love the piloting side of Star Wars for sure. So spaceships and all of that should be fun.
Yeah, sounds good to me. So hopefully I can get caught up by then, so I can start reading that one day one. We'll see. That's the goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's certainly a bounty of great stuff here from Lucasfilm Publishing coming up this year and next. So I'm pretty much excited about all of it. I mean, there's nothing in there that I'm thinking, doesn't, I don't care about that, or I don't want to read that or whatever. So it's all sounding good.
Yeah.
So just real quick here, last thing before we sign off and hopefully go track down the first episode of Resistance is Lucasfilm. StarWars.com also debuted a new series last week or this week or whatever you want to say, and it's awesome. It's called Our Star Wars Stories. Did you get a chance to check out that first episode?
No,
right?
And I would love for you to explain it to me, because I still have no idea what this is.
Okay. So this is a show in which StarWars.com team goes, they go around the country or maybe around the world, I don't know, and meet with fans, and those fans tell their Star Wars stories is essentially what the premise of the show is. So it's kind of putting a spotlight on the Star Wars community, the fan community, and just people who love Star Wars. And it's hosted by Jordan Hembrough, and it travels the country to talk to fans about how Star Wars has impacted their lives. So I love that idea, love that concept 100%. And I watched the first episode, and it's so good. It's so good. It features Albin Johnson, who founded the 501st Legion. So, I mean, that's pretty killer right there. But he's also the father of Katie Johnson, who is the young girl who R2KT was made for, and is in honor of, I think you'd say at this point. So to hear him tell the story of getting into troop building or trooping, I guess, and building gear, and then founding the 501st Legion, and to talk about what the 501st Legion does is incredible. And then to hear him tell the story of his daughter and her fight with childhood cancer, and the way the Star Wars community came together to sort of support them both before and after her death is just really impactful. And it's, to me, this first episode is it's the best of what Star Wars fandom and the Star Wars community is about, and it's Lucasfilm and StarWars.com shining a spotlight on that. And so I think it's such a great idea. It's just so good. And I mean, the first episode was just, I think, perfect. It was so good. It was really compelling and interesting. It was emotional. But I think most importantly, it really made me feel proud to be a Star Wars fan. And I think it really emphasized what is, what's so great about this community and fandom and all that kind of stuff. And I think, in 2018, there's a need to kind of point out what's positive about this culture and this fandom and stuff like that. So it's really, really well done. I'm not sure how often it's going to come out. I don't know if they're going to do it weekly for, the first season, or if it's monthly or what, but it's great. So I mean, you got to go check it out, and I'm really looking forward to more episodes.
And it's just on StarWars.com.
Yep, StarWars.com, YouTube.
Cool.
Yep. So I will link to it in the show notes. The first episode is 12 minutes long, so carve out a couple minutes and check it out, because it's really, really good.
Nice.
All right. So with that, I think we are probably going to wrap up here, Ryan. And I really want to go downstairs and try to watch Star Wars Resistance.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like, so what is my Xfinity like login and password? Like, how am I going to do this?
You got to work it out.
Yep.
Although I will say too, and you know, this is just, I'm just throwing it out here. It's just a guess, but I have a feeling that they might have made the first episode where you don't even have to log in, because when you download the Disney Now app, you know, if you're not logged in through your provider, there's usually some episodes of at least some of the shows that you can watch without unlocking, they call it, logging in. So, you know, I think they tend to do that with the first episode of a series to get you kind of interested.
Okay.
So even if like if you're listening, you know, and you don't have a cable login or, you know, whatever, you know, download the app and give it a shot and see if it's on there. You might be able to check it out, at least the first episode or two, without a login. So
well,
that would be my recommendation.
Out, and I'm sure we will be texting each other very shortly.
Yeah, and more than that, I think you can expect our next episode of the Blockade Runner podcast to heavily focus on the premiere of Star Wars Resistance. So I'm sure there will be a lot to talk about, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And Ryan, I'm looking forward to your critiques of the show as well. You know, from the perspective of somebody who's watched a lot of animation and that sort of thing. So I think you'll like it. I hope you'll like it, but I also think you'll be able to.
I need to like it because I'm buying all those toys. So.
Right. Well said. Well said. Cool. All right. So we'll wrap up here and be back soon with an episode covering Resistance. You can check out all of our shows and blog posts and whatnot at blockaderunnerpodcast.com. Subscribe on iTunes or your podcast service of choice. I ask now every week, and nobody really comes through for us on leaving some reviews. So if you're listening, if you enjoy the show, head over there and leave a review, because we don't have too many, and some more would be great. Subscribe on YouTube if you want to check out the video version of the show, or occasionally we're posting footage of Star Wars games and things like that. So worth a subscription over there on YouTube as well. Follow us on Twitter at Blockade Run. Ryan, you're on Twitter
at Brawn Dwarf, BRAWNDWARF.
And if you want to share your thoughts on the show or whatever's going on in Star Wars right now, you can email us at blockaderunnerpodcast@gmail.com. So until then, I'm going to run downstairs and watch Star Wars Resistance.